Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate and heading to the second item of the top stories for today on Sunday. As Minister of Foreign Migration and the Egyptian Expatriates Affairs, Badr Abdulati held a press conference with the visiting Romanian counterpart, Lomenista Odibescu. Abdulati stressed that the bilateral relations binding Egypt and Romania in various fields, highlighting that Egypt is the Romanian first Arab and African trade partner, adding that Romania is among the most important destinations to the Egyptian exports in Europe. The foreign minister welcomed the Romanian foreign minister's first visit to Egypt since 2013, noting that this visit also coincides with the approaching 120th anniversary of the establishment of the diplomatic relations by 2025. The Minister of Foreign Affairs referred to the high-level visits between the two countries in recent years, most notably the visit made by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in June of 2019 to Bucharest and the visit of the Romanian President in October of 2021 to Cairo. Abdulati explained that these visits contributed to the exchange of views on the regional issues, especially in light of the crises that the region is currently witnessing. He added that there is bilateral cooperation in various fields, such as tourism, health, as well as education and culture. And I am honored to be joined over the phone with Ambassador Mohamed Al-Orabi, the former foreign minister. Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Of course, we have seen today the meeting and the press conference held by the foreign ministers of Egypt and Romania. How do you see the importance of holding such a press conference and for such a visit by the Romanian top diplomat?
Well, I think, as you just mentioned, that the two countries are enjoying very deep and profound relationship since many years ago. And I think Romania always playing a pivotal role also in the Middle East crisis since also many years ago. I think the visit is part of the Egyptian diplomacy, how we can mobilize the international the international countries in order to exercise a sort of pressure on Israel to stop, the fighting and to have immediate ceasefire in Gaza and Lebanon. So the proactive diplomacy from the Egyptian side, I think, is well known to everybody, and the Egyptian role also in the Middle East crisis is also well known. The relation between the two countries, as Ambassador Minister Abdulati said, it is, covered various fields, and it is always, has a sort of progress in the different fields. So the visit is important because, the Middle East is now passing by the critical moment where the Israeli forces, destroying two major cities in Gaza and Beirut. So I guess this kind of, I would say, diplomacy, it might bear some fruits and trying to pave the way for peaceful solution in our region. But of course, the Israeli government is now trying to prove that they have the upper hand in this area, and they don't care about the international opinions or even the international law.
On the other hand, Mr. Ambassador, how do you see the importance of the deep bilateral and the historic ties, as you've mentioned at the beginning, to be reflected on trade exchange and the economic bilateral ties between Egypt and Romania and Egypt and Europe in general, as Romania is one of the biggest importers from Egypt?
Yes, of course. This is one of the important fields, actually, which has a lot of discussion today. And I think to enhance this kind of relationship is in the favor of the two countries, and it will serve the interest of the two countries. It is not just a one-side game, but it is, win-win game. I guess the Romanian also looking to Egypt as a very important market and a gate to Africa and to the Arab world. So when the two countries trying to discuss these issues, I think it will also have a sort of impact on the level of trade between the two countries, which would have also a good impact on the economy of both countries. And I think most of the countries now in the world, they are trying, to enhance the trade relationship, because this might be a very good solution for the economic crisis which are prevailing now in the whole world. So the discussion, I guess, it will cover also the culture change, which is also so important and will serve the enhancement of the relation between the two countries. So this kind of visits, actually, it is very important, and in the meantime, it gives the impression that Egypt is always playing a pivotal role in our region, and I think this is, a very good recognition from the important country in Europe, and I am sure that this visit will give a sort of impetus to the relation between the two countries.
Yes, Mr. Ambassador, we have seen President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi conducting a visit to Romania in June of 2019, and the Romanian president visiting Egypt in October of 2021. So several visits over the past 2 or 3 years. How do you see the importance and the development of the bilateral ties between Egypt and not just Romania, not just Europe, but the rest of the world under the tenure of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi over the past decade?
Well, I think let us talk about the presidential diplomacy, which is now playing an important role in, giving Egypt a very good image in the whole world. And I think President Sisi is always, keen to have a sort of improvement to the relation between Egypt and different countries. And this kind of visit is, always tackling a lot of good things, and give the officials in both countries the landmarks for how they can achieve some sort of progress in the relation between the two countries. And I guess the idea of having, presidential visit from both sides, it is always a real help to improve the relation between Egypt and any European countries.
Yes, Mr. Ambassador, we can see right now the footage of the visit of the Egyptian-Romanian Business Council, or for the Romanian delegation to be participating in the Egyptian-Romanian Business Council. We have seen one of the statements made by the Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati, stating that His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the visits that we have witnessed over the past 3 or 4 years have enhanced the situation in terms of having a unified vision towards what is happening in the region concerning the crises that we are seeing nowadays, and more specifically, as you mentioned at the beginning, in Palestine and in Lebanon. How do you see the importance of having a unified vision between Egypt and the rest of the world, or at least the visiting countries, the visiting delegations, regarding what is happening in the region, to be having a de-escalation for the near future?
Well, the two countries always, enjoying a sort of identical, I would say, views in the different issues, especially in the Middle East crisis. And that was, part of the historical relationship between the two countries. So when Romania and Egypt starting to tackle or trying to be a mediator in the Middle East peace process, I think we can expect real progress. But of course, there is an adamant, Israeli policy, and they don't care and they don't listen to any wise voices from different countries. So but anyway, I think we should keep the pressure on the Israeli government in order to succumb to the international desire to have a peaceful solution in the Middle East, and trying to give the Palestinian people their rights and their integrity.
Yes, Ambassador Mohamed Orabi, the former Foreign Minister, thank you very much for being with us on the Daily Debate for tonight over the phone. And we will be heading to the main topic of the episode for tonight, focusing on the situation in Gaza and in Lebanon, and the role of Egypt and His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to be having steps to be de-escalating the situation in Gaza and in Lebanon. As we have seen over the past week, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi receiving the Prime Minister and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, His Excellency or His Highness Mohamed Ibn Salman, over the past week. We'll be shedding more light on such a visit in the upcoming report and the steps that were agreed upon during this visit.
President Fattah al-Sisi and Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, Saudi Crown Prince and Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia, have called for the commencement of de-escalatory steps in both Gaza and Lebanon, including a ceasefire. The two leaders made their remarks as the Saudi Crown Prince made an official visit to Cairo on Tuesday, where he discussed with President Fattah al-Sisi bilateral relations and regional challenges. During their meeting at Al-Ittihadiyya Palace, they called for addressing worsening humanitarian conditions in Gaza and Lebanon, halting brinkmanship policies and hindering expanding cycle of conflict. Furthermore, they stressed the importance of respecting Lebanon's sovereignty, security, stability, and territorial integrity. As they addressed regional developments, President Sisi and Saudi Crown Prince Salman underlined the necessity of halting escalation. They highlighted the need for the establishment of a sovereign Palestinian state in accordance with international legitimacy as the only way to achieve sustainable calm, peace and security in the region. They stressed that attempts to liquidate the Palestinian cause will lead to the continuation of conflict in the region. Additionally, the leaders discussed several regional issues, including security of the Red Sea region as well as the situations in Sudan, Libya and Syria. Last September, Minister of Foreign Affairs Badr Abdelati affirmed Egypt's complete rejection of any violations of Lebanon's sovereignty and territories, stressing the necessity of reining in the Israeli military escalation and supporting Lebanon. This came during Abdelati's participation in the Arab Ministerial Consultative Meeting on the sidelines of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly in the United States. During the meeting, Abdelati strongly condemned the grave Israeli escalation in Lebanon and the extensive military operations that led to the death and injury of hundreds of Lebanese people. He also urged further efforts to preserve regional security, affirming the necessity of avoiding a military solution that would only lead to further bloodshed and threaten civilians' lives, pushing the whole region into a full-scale war with dangerous repercussions. Despite its continued efforts to reach a ceasefire in Gaza and contain the war risks, Egypt has called on international powers and the UN Security Council to take immediate action to halt Israel's escalation. Moreover, he emphasized the need for a peaceful resolution to the crisis. This includes immediately halting escalation, implementing UNSC Resolution 1701, and allowing diplomatic solutions to prevent conflict exacerbation. Moreover, Abdelati stressed the necessity of confronting Israeli policies aimed at preventing the establishment of a Palestinian state. Additionally, he highlighted the importance of seizing the opportunity in the upcoming international and regional forums to mobilize support for the Palestinian cause, paving the way to establish a Palestinian state over the June 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. The foreign minister also pointed out Egypt's intensive mediation efforts with various parties to reach an immediate ceasefire and ensure an unconditional delivery of humanitarian aid to the Strip. Cairo fully rejects any scenarios aimed at continuing the occupation of Gaza, closing Rafah border crossing, displacing Palestinians, or legitimizing and expanding settlement outposts on the Palestinian territories.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate, and we will be heading to the other report of the program, focusing on the topic of tonight's episode, as the Foreign Minister of Egypt, Badr Abdel Ati, and his counterpart from Lebanon, Abdullah Habib, held talks and, of course, discussing the situation in Lebanon and the support given by Egypt to Lebanon over the past period and ways of de-escalating the situation in Lebanon and the Middle East in general. We'll be having more details in the upcoming report. Stay tuned.
Foreign Minister Badr Abdel Ati and his Lebanese counterpart Abdullah Habib discussed on Friday latest developments in Lebanon and efforts made to contain deteriorating situation in the region. During a phone conversation, Abdel Ati reviewed Egypt's efforts to quickly reach an immediate ceasefire in Lebanon. He stressed the need to ease escalating tension at this critical stage to prevent the region from being dragged into a large-scale war that will have extremely dangerous repercussions on regional and international peace and security. The top Egyptian diplomat also condemned the Israeli army's deliberate targeting of the United Nations interim force in Lebanon, in southern Lebanon. The discussions between the top diplomats come amid rising regional tensions following the killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar by Israeli military in Gaza, the ongoing Israeli attacks on Gaza and Lebanon, and Israeli threats to attack Iran, raising fears of a full-scale war. Meanwhile, the second shipment of Egyptian medical and relief aid arrived in Beirut airport as part of Egypt's support for Lebanon facing Israel's attacks. The aid consists of 33 tons of essential food items and living supplies. Egypt's ambassador to Lebanon, Ala Musa, received the shipment alongside representatives from the Lebanese government and the president of the Lebanese Relief Council. In addition to the humanitarian aid, the Egyptian embassy in Beirut repatriated 304 Egyptian nationals and their families who were stranded in Lebanon due to Israeli war. This brings the number of Egyptians evacuated through special flights operated by Egypt Air to 904. According to the Foreign Ministry, the embassy continues to receive requests from Egyptians seeking to return home with plans to include them in future flights. Minister of Foreign Affairs Badr Abdel Ati emphasized that the ministry is working with various state agencies to address consequences of Israeli attacks on Lebanon. Cairo is actively engaged in diplomatic efforts to secure an immediate and comprehensive ceasefire on the humanitarian front. Egypt has delivered 44 tons of aid so far and will continue to support the Lebanese government and people. Since September 23rd, the Israeli army has intensified strikes on Lebanon in an escalating confrontation with Hezbollah, inflicting heavy casualties and mass displacement.